Facebook. What's up, everyone? How are you guys doing? Okay. So, everyone knows who I am. I'm Dr. Tamika Peds, aka. Okay. So, I am going to give a little bit of time for Facebook to populate my audience because this topic that I am going to talk about is really important. And I know it was impromptu with the time that I made to bring up this topic. So I just really put out this Facebook Live today because it's so important because of who is actually going through it. It's a surprise. You guys know, if you guys are up on your television and your celebrities, then you probably know what's going on. I am on my lunch break, so I definitely wanted to make sure that I came to you all to let you know the scoop. Yes, of course, the scoop. All right. I'm going to give a little bit more time for Facebook to populate. I know this is, I am on Central Standard Time, so it is technically 1 p.m. for me, so I know everybody's at work, but don't feel bad because even if you miss the broadcast, you will definitely catch the replay, and it is important, and it's so important not only for parents and caregivers to know this information, but also for moms too as well, especially new parents and new moms. This is really important because I see this all the time in the pediatric clinic. And so it's really important that we just keep our parents up to date on what's going on in their children's life and explaining things to them the best way we can possibly. So I am going to wait a sec. I wish I got my music blasting. I know I'm in the car. I see my daughter's car seats in the back. Oh, I miss my mini-me. I hope everybody's having a great work week so far. It is hump day. It is Wednesday. I know. So I hope everybody's having a great work week. So what I am going to do, I am just going to go ahead and get started for you guys. So if you guys are coming in on this broadcast, please let me know that you're tuned in because I am about to give the scoop on what's going on, okay? So everybody knows me. If you don't know me, I am Dr. Tamika Bush, aka Dr. Tamika Peds. I am your favorite board-certified pediatrician, Dr. Mom, best-selling author, speaker, and consultant. And I do what? I help moms like you and me keep your children happy and healthy all naturally without the use of traditional medicine. And keeping your family healthy helps bring balance not only to you, but to your family as well. So today, I don't know if you guys have seen what I'm going to talk about today. So yes, I have to give the scoop. Don't forget, if you guys come in, if you have any questions, feel free to kind of put something on the bottom. Let me know that you're here. Say, hey, what's up? Let me know that you're just kind of taking a little bit of break from work. So I don't know if any of you all have been reading some of the celebrity tabloids or the celebrity news lately, but everybody knows, if you're like an avid Beyonce or Jay-Z fan, you all know that yes, they were having children. And what? They were having twins, right? Yes, twins. Amazing. Just amazing. So anybody that's a Beyonce fan or Jay-Z fan always is keeping up on them, like following them and everything. So apparently speculations are out that Beyonce had her twins, and apparently what happened, there are questions that she had her babies a little bit early, and right now they're undergoing treatment for what we call jaundice. Okay, so, I'm a pediatrician. So one thing I want to educate my parents on, of course, is jaundice. And this is something common. And jaundice doesn't necessarily just happen in preemie babies. It can also happen in full-term babies too as well. And so this is a very important topic that I want to bring up. Now, when your child is extremely jaundiced, of course, and they're undergoing therapy, depending on if they're preemies, of course, they deal with a neonatologist. A neonatologist is a pediatrician that is further trained to deal with very young babies or preemie babies. So what are preemie babies? Preemie babies, we all know that full term is 37 weeks. So of course, any baby, if there's any concerns under 37 weeks, the neonatologist will take care of those. And apparently with Beyonce and Jay-Z, I guess with their babies, there's speculations that the babies were preemie. and that they are I'm assuming in the care, if they are preemie, in the care of a neonatologist receiving the phototherapy. So we're going to give you the scoop on what jaundice is, why it happens, what you need to do, if there's anything you need to be worried about, and of course how you treat it. And of course, your holistic pediatrician here, Dr. Tamika Pease, cannot come to you without giving some of you moms some natural treatments for it too as well. So I got a special tidbit for you guys today. So let's talk first, what is jaundice, right? Jaundice is very common. Now, jaundice can happen not only in preterm babies or preemie babies, but it can also happen in full-term babies. And it's common. It happens usually to many babies in the first week of life, and especially in the first 5 days. Now, basically, it's the yellow tint to an infant's skin or the white part of their eye, which is right here. And we refer to that as jaundice, or if it gets to the eye, it's also called scleral icterus. Now, basically what it means is we have a lot of parents, and I educate my parents on this all the time, but I have a lot of parents that come and they say, well, why are they jaundiced? Like, what is that, Dr. Bush? Like, what's going on? So basically when the baby, it's in the mom inside, the placenta kind of transfers everything to the baby. Everything. And when I mean everything, that includes hormones, that includes red blood cells, you name it, everything. So keep in mind though, when the baby is inside of you moms, right, your placenta is doing all the work. And so even though you're attached, your placenta is kind of detoxifying the blood that's going through the baby. It's kind of helping kind of function for the baby so the baby can kind of be out on their own. So basically the gist of it is there's too much bilirubin in your baby's blood. Okay, so what is bilirubin? Bilirubin basically is the breakdown of red blood cells in your bloodstream. And so what happens is when the babies are born, they no longer have that placenta to hold on to filter everything. They have to start kind of working double time, and they have to start kind of working on their own body to kind of get things moving, right? So there's no placenta attached. They're not attached to mom anymore. So what happens is they also have to get rid of a lot of the things that was transferred from you. One of the things is the red blood cells. So what happens? They start breaking down those red blood cells in addition to getting rid of all the hormones, which is why I always tell my parents that it's normal for your child to have a little bit of some fullness in their chest and their breast when the baby's born. And some infant females even secrete milk out of their breasts or nipples. Males too, so don't be alarmed. And some infant females, because of the hormones from you, mom, actually have little bits of blood-stained urine. It may be some blood in the diaper, and that's just all hormonal. So don't freak out that it's just they're getting rid of everything. So of course they got to get rid of those blood cells because what? They don't need them anymore because they're born, right? So one thing they do is they start turning over those blood cells. Hey Ashley, thank you so much for joining. I'm glad you're liking this info. Feel free to leave comments in the bottom. Let me know. So they get rid of these blood cells. So in order to get rid of the blood cells, they have to bypass. Once they've broken down, they bypass and they go through the liver. Now, the one thing about infants is that everything is so immature because they're so young and they're just now like being opened up into the world. So their liver is immature. And so the bilirubin can be broken down, but it has to be broken down through the liver. And when it goes through the liver, it has to bypass to get either peed out or they can poop it out. And that's why majority of babies have jaundice. So it's not something that's like foreign. This is common. So not only can it happen to Beyonce and Jay-Z's baby, this can happen to anyone's baby. So every parent and caregiver needs to be aware of exactly what it is. So the next question you ask is, what are the symptoms? Like, how will I know if my baby's jaundice, right? So besides seeing the yellow tint to their skin or the yellowness of the eyes, some of the serious symptoms may be when I see a baby in the hospital and I'm checking them out, either the skin discoloration. Sometimes infants can be sluggish or they can be lethargic, which means they may not be waking up for their feeds or have poor tone or poor suck or a weak cry. And some babies can have the absolute opposite effect and just be extremely irritable. So you have to look out for those things. And trust me, if you got a good pediatrician, they're going to keep an eye, because most babies these days automatically get a bilirubin before they're discharged home. And that's just a baseline bilirubin. And that's either through a poke in the heel, or they actually have scanners now that can actually go over the skin. So when they check that bilirubin, they'll let you know why and what's important. Oh, Ashley, I see you have a question. Okay, I'm going to touch on that about the sun. Okay, because we're going to touch on treatment, because we're going to get to that in 1 second. So just stay tuned. So basically, you'll know what your bilirubin results of your child is before they're discharged. Most major hospitals check that. Now, depending on what the levels are, they will kind of guide you, either the nurses, the pediatrician, or the hospital, let you know, okay, what do we do next? Now, some of you are asking, well, if all babies get it, is there any way I can decrease my child from getting jaundice? Well, here's the thing. Okay, there are risk factors. We do know that. And so one of the top risk factors we do know is prematurity, which is, of course, unfortunately, prayers are going out to Beyonce and Jay-Z, but unfortunately, that's probably what's going on with their baby. It's because they're very premature, the liver's premature, and because when they're that premature, they really are breaking down a lot of the red blood cells a little bit faster than normal. So prematurity is one. Another cause of like jaundice could be the mom and baby's blood type. So just if there's any type of incompatibility with the blood type, and your OB or your obstetrician or gynecologist will be sure to tell you that after all that's done, they will kind of let you know if there's a risk factor as well. But keep in mind too, if you are a diabetic mother, there is a higher chance too that your baby can be jaundice, just due to certain conditions of your health, being on insulin and the glucose, and also with the weight of the baby. Sometimes babies or infants of diabetic mothers are a little bit larger than normal, and sometimes that can mean they can have more of a red blood cell count on their body. And of course, more red blood cells means probably higher turnover of the red blood cells and increase and breakdown of that bilirubin. So those are some of the common risk factors that you see. So you're just like, okay, I told you what it is. I told you risk factors. Your question is, we figured out how you like diagnose it. You know, it's a simple blood stick or skin, something over to measure over the skin, which is a transcutaneous. Then the next question is, how do you treat it, right? So here's the thing, depending on your infant, and each care is specialized and just geared toward every child, because it's always different. Depending on your infant, whether or not they were premature, whether or not they were full term, and how old they are, we as pediatricians, and also if the child is a preemie, the neonatologists decide whether or not that child is going to need any further treatment. Now, a lot of times we also look at multiple things. One of the things that we look at is weight. We look at if their infant is feeding. So weight, we expect most infants to lose weight in the first week of life. But if they're losing a drastic amount of weight when we compare them to their birth weight, that is something that is concerning to us. So we definitely look at that. So we look at weight loss, we look at dehydration, how much they're eating, and we look at whether or not the baby's being bottle fed or breastfed. And I'm going to tell you why. A lot of moms, especially new moms, when they first have babies, how many days does it take for that milk to come in? 2 to 3 days. Right. 2 to 3 days. And so even just stress from a delivery, whether it's a C-section or just stress of the labor, can decrease your amount of milk production coming in. But when it comes in, it's going to be full blast, mamas, and you're going to know it because you're going to feel fullness in your breasts and everything else too as well. But sometimes you may get your nurses to say, well, mom, your milk isn't quite in yet. We really don't want the baby to get dehydrated. Maybe we should consider supplementing with some formula just in case. And the reason we say that to a lot of the moms and the parents is because we don't want the baby to get dehydrated, and we worry about those jaundice levels going up. So it's extremely important that we get the baby to pee and poop, right? Because peeing and pooping does what? Gets rid of that jaundice, and it gets rid of that yellowing of the skin. So it's really super uber important to make sure that they're feeding. And I have had some moms that are really vigilant and they're avid about breastfeeding. But I think a lot of it is just taking time to explain to my parents the importance of the risk factors with jaundice and what could happen. And not saying that you can't breastfeed, but just for maybe a day or two, just using a syringe to feed the baby formula can help get the baby kind of excreting some of that jaundice and everything and getting rid of that yellowing, because the first week is very important to get rid of it. So, and then they can just breastfeed from then on. So it's really, really extremely important. So I kind of, take time, spend extra time to kind of teach my caregivers, teach my parents the reason of why we're asking them to supplement. So that is one reason. Now, another way we kind of treat is we use what we call phototherapy. Phototherapy. I know it's a different term. So just explain to everybody what phototherapy is. I don't know if anyone has ever seen the babies that are sitting under a light in the hospital and it kind of looks like they're like stretched out on the beach, got the little goggles on, enjoying that sun. It's almost kind of like a sun tanning bed, right? For babies. So that's what it is. It's actually a fluorescent light, but what it does is it breaks down the skin. It actually goes through the skin to break down those bilirubin levels a little bit more, so those babies can pee and poop all those levels out. So a lot of times we may put the babies over a lamp, which is the fluorescent lamp, which is the phototherapy, or another option is we can also use what we call a bilirubin blanket, which goes under the baby and it kind of comes in contact with the skin. Now, either way, if you do the phototherapy light, actual overhead, that is actually at the hospital. If you have a blanket, sometimes you can treat at home, and all that just depends on your pediatrician, your neonatologist, and your caregiver on how elevated the bilirubin levels are and whether or not they need to be treated. So that's really important. But usually this is something that is short term. I mean, jaundice usually clears up within the first 2 weeks of life. Now, if you're still breastfeeding, one thing to keep in mind that there is something known as breastfeeding jaundice. And for most breastfeeding moms, this is very common. Now, it's not what we call pathologic or alarming, but it's something that can actually happen if you're a breastfeeding mom after 2 weeks of age, and it's just totally normal. Now, you're wondering, why are we so worried about jaundice, right? What is the big thing? Now, the one thing, if you're not able to, if the babies are not able to get rid of the yellowing or excreting, then one thing we worry about is it's going to the brain. Now, there's a medical term called kernicterus, and it actually causes the jaundice and the bilirubin levels to deposit within the brainstem of the baby. And this is worst case scenario. It's very rare, not saying it can happen, but it's very, very rare. But it goes to the brainstem and it can cause neurologic damage and other issues. So that is why jaundice is extremely important and why we have to educate our parents and our moms and dads and other caregivers about what exactly jaundice is and how to treat it. Now, Ashley, you brought up a good question. You said you always wanted to know, why do they say put the baby in the sun? Okay, we don't want the baby to go in the sun. All right, so direct sunlight is not very good for a newborn baby. You still have to keep in mind that this infant is very sensitive to extreme temperature and heat. Even if they're in the house, you do not want them to go into direct sunlight because their skin is so thin and you worry about UVA rays and different things going through the skin. So some of the times you may hear some pediatricians say, oh, when it's dusk and the sun has set, then you may hear them say, put them near like a bay window or somewhere where you have a little bit of natural light, okay? Not direct sunlight, but natural light. And natural light can still do some of the similar things as phototherapy light would. But keep in mind that that is still something that you want to talk to your pediatrician and your child's doctor about before initiating. And it also depends too on whether or not, if the level is high enough for that bilirubin, whether or not it's actually going to work, and other factors as if the infant is feeding well and such. So that's something you definitely want to just keep an eye out for. So, of course, I have to give you some natural ways. I am the holistic integrative pediatrician. I cannot come and tell you about jaundice without giving you some natural treatments to help treat it, right? Okay, so here's the skinny. Moms that are breastfeeding, this can probably help a little bit more for you moms. And I'm not saying that, if you're not breastfeeding, you're still an amazing mom. But some moms, unfortunately, are not able to breastfeed, either because of just the way the breasts are, the nipples, or maybe because they just aren't able to produce that milk. But this is something good to know for the moms that are breastfeeding. If you are breastfeeding, there are ways for you to get those levels down. And I'm going to tell you something. There's a tea that you can make. A tea? Yes, a tea. And guess what? The tea is not only going to help with the jaundice in your baby, but it's also going to help with your milk production. What? No brainer. Double whammy, right? Exactly. So the tea that I usually kind of talk to my moms about, one of the ingredients, it's an herb called fenugreek, okay? That's Fenugreek, and another one is called basil. It's basil, sweet basil. Sweet basil, we cook with it, right? Yeah, we put it in all of our dishes. And basically what I say is you can get some either fresh sweet basil leaves, you can get some fenugreek tea, and I have them steep some water like you're making some tea, and I put one either basil leaf in there in an 8-ounce cup along with some fenugreek, like either a tea pouch, and add a little sprinkle of lemon juice. And what is that going to do? That's going to help with the jaundice, and it's going to help improve your milk production. You're like, how is that? Okay, so I don't know if you all know, basil is actually very healthy for you. It's an anti-inflammatory, all natural, and it helps to regulate bowel production. And bowel production is definitely what you need for like helping get rid of toxins and everything else with the liver. And what's our problem with bilirubin? It's the liver dysfunction in our infants, and usually it's because it's immature. But moms, if you consume these things, small amounts can be secreted into your breast milk. So keep that in mind, that what you consume, everything is secreted through the breast milk. So this is basically like one of my teas that I recommend. Another thing, that fenugreek is actually a natural herb that helps with breast milk production. And it's also a herb that I usually tell most of my moms to pick up either in capsule form or also in a tea. And it also helps with the milk production. And what happens is, I usually tell my moms, what you need to do is basically take the capsules until you start smelling like maple syrup. I know, but that's what you need to do. If you start smelling like maple syrup, then you got enough in your system. But that's going to help with your milk production too as well. And that's great. Lemon juice is an all-natural anti-inflammatory. So that's just going to help too in general. So all these things are going to not only help detox your body post-pregnancy and post-baby, but also help with decreased inflammation and also help to decrease jaundice. Now, one thing about basil, I like to always tell any of my moms that are diabetics and everybody who takes herbal medicines, keep in mind that herbal medicines are still medicines. Whether or not you pick up something from like a store, all natural herb, you still have to look out for side effects. So one of the things with basil, any person or mom that is taking insulin or diabetic, anyone that is on insulin, one thing, if you have high amounts of it, which 8 ounces a cup a day is not going to cause any toxicity, but high amounts of basil, sweet basil, can actually increase the effectiveness of insulin, and it also can lead to blood glucose. So that's a disclaimer right there, just to kind of let you know. If you have diabetes and you're on insulin, you just want to monitor how much sweet basil that you're getting. Now, a second thing to help with jaundice, guess what? Tomato juice, right? Tomato juice, right? Moms, you can drink tomato juice. I know it's salty, but the lycopenes in tomato juice help to reduce liver damage in you. And then once you drink it, some of that can go through the breast milk, and that'll be perfect. That can kind of help with your baby too as well. So you also want to avoid processed foods in the beginning of the first week or two of life. You want to eat healthy foods. You want to do spinach and garlic. All those are like strong nutrients and iron, and also strong too as well for anti-inflammatories. So those are very, very, very important. So I just wanted to give a spiel. I hope this kind of educated some of my caregivers out there, some of my parents, and also my supernatural moms. Don't forget, you guys, I have a special Facebook group that I want you to join, okay? So if you get free time, I am going to add it to the link if I can, but if not, it's www.granolamoms, GRANOLAMOMS supernatural.info. You can actually go to that website, get connected to my Supernatural Mom group. And in this group, it's fantastic. I have a dozen of moms, everyone who are there for not only the vitality and health of themselves, but also for the vitality and health of their family, keeping their family healthy and happy all naturally. I give Facebook Lives. I give tips for herbal treatments of just natural things that can kind of help keep your family healthy. And you're in a group of mothers just like you. And it's always nice to kind of air things out and just throw things across the board at other moms and not feel judged. I mean, we need more supportive groups of mothers out there. And this is definitely a group where all moms can benefit. And it's only for moms, dads. I'm sorry. I'm going to definitely think of something for you guys as well. But this is only for my supernatural moms. So it's www.granolamoms.info. Definitely go to that link, get involved, get active in my group. I promise you're going to get some great benefits from being in it. And don't forget, you all, don't forget to follow me. Always, always, always. I'm across all social media. Dr. Tamika Peds, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. I am on it. So don't forget to follow me. And I have a website too as well, www.drtamikapeds.com. Feel free to kind of go on my website. If there's any questions, feel free to drop me a line, send me a message. So I hope you guys have a blessed, wonderful week and hump day, because it is Wednesday, and enjoy the rest of your day. Once again, it is your favorite board certified pediatrician, Dr. Mom, speaker, best-selling author, and consultant, here to help moms like you keep your children healthy and happy all naturally by bringing that balance to not only you, but to your family as well. And don't forget to share, hit that button. Make sure once you get into the group too as well, you can also add any of other fellow moms that you know that would love to be part of a supportive group, learning about natural ways to keep their children healthy and happy. All right, take care and be blessed.